Hello, I've called this one post-referendum. England moves to the right. Anyway, we all know the result of the Scottish referendum, a 10% majority vote to remain in subjugation to their imperial masters. A bit like turkeys voting for Christmas, so there's nothing unusual there in the British political scene. Meanwhile, England moves further to the right. Just look at the Labour Party conference, which is still in progress at this very moment. Well, hardly anybody's looking at it anyway. But with the general election just over 6 months away, it's well worth looking at this electoral alternative to the Conservatives. And what is Big Ed's big idea? Why, it's an £8 hourly wage minimum for the year 2020. Why, after tax or even before tax, that amount wouldn't even get you a rented accommodation in a small ex-local authority house in the East End. Right now, today, not 2020. So that just goes to show what sort of planet these people are living in. All Labour can actually say is that they saved the United Kingdom during the referendum, which indeed I think that they did. Thanks to Gordon Brown, the entire Labour Party machine, the trade unions, many sections of the left, such as Galloway. I think that the Labour Party main thing will be, the main plank, or the only solid plank in their otherwise shaky platform for 2015 will be save the NHS. In reality, they want to keep to the present government's fiscal policy, and to the extent of freezing child benefit. They're actually boasting about it today. They're going to freeze child benefit. And that's their real policy. Keep to the fiscal limits of the Conservative government. 75 billion in debt and rising, and we're the ones that are going to be squeezed for it. Labour Party have got no vision, even if it's a pack of lies they're telling us. They haven't even got a decent pack of lies to tell us. No vision whatsoever, particularly on British devolution, except to be even further to the right than Cameron, who's been a quite crafty fellow actually, and has pulled the rug for them and completely outmaneuvered Miliband on that one. The man's like flapping around like a distressed puffin, going on about fag packets all the time. But Labour did do their duty in the Scottish referendum for sure. But where's the vision on housing, increasing poverty, food banks, education, the quality of life, the growing gap in relation to the rich and poor with incomes, inflation, wages? Nothing, absolutely nothing. And we can really expect Labour for the election to jump on the anti-immigration bandwagon as they indulge in patriotism, saying that they saved the United Kingdom. For us anarchists, the Labour Party has ceased to be socialist 100 years ago, when them and the unions rallied the nation to the slaughter of World War I. So we've never had any illusions about Labour at all, but quite a few people still have. But I think that the veil has been lifted before their eyes, and we might see the Labour Party wiped out in Scotland in 2015. Maybe people voting for the SNP. We'll wait and see on that one. Anyway, I reckon that fury and rage should be directed to the Labour Party for even suggesting that they're an alternative. At least you know where you are with the Conservatives. Labour, under Miliband, Ed Balls, Harriet Harman, and the reinvigorated Gordon Brown and the rest of that unsavoury crew, are dead set on course to be beaten by the Conservatives in 2015 anyway. So they're not going to win. I think that we can only undergo a great psychological political shift if Labour voters finally reject Labour. Shift the whole emphasis away from voting and loyalty to the shrinking Labour supporting unions. Some political people actually claim there are good people in the Labour Party. What? Those zombie Walking Dead scum attending the conference right now? Do me a favour. Good people are more likely to be found in issue-based politics outside the party union machines, but they have no alternative but to cut the umbilical cord that ties them to the establishment politics, in particularly the Labour Party and the unions. We all have to be totally reinvent politics, social struggle, revolutionary anti-establishment attitude, move towards a revolutionary destruction of the political, social system that we have now. That's what we have to do. That is our task, not as anarchists, but as human beings, as a population as a whole. We all have to do it. And I'm not smug concerning the anarchists in the UK. That movement, or what passes for it, has to be more than a training ground for people wanting to enter NGOs and nice big fat wage packets and plenty of kudos, or a playground for middle-class lifestyleistas, as they call them. Has to be based on revolutionary class struggle, which is what we want to see out in the streets. Anti-authority elements we have to link up with. Has to become embedded in the community and always be on the streets as a matter of course where the real action and movements are. We've always got to also be mentally preparing for that time, when it comes and when it develops, from a street movement on a street level. Today, for example, Sir Peter Henley, or Hendy, head of the Transport for London, is predicting riots and social unrest in London due to the cost of overcrowding on public transport. If the establishment can think in this direction, so should we, on every level. Okay, so England moves further to the right, to employ a somewhat dated, rather anachronistic, what do they call it? Anachronistic, but still relevant term. Immediate evidence of this will be a UKIP MP sitting in the House of Commons this time next week. Their first MP, David Carswell, sitting for Clacton after victory in the Clacton by-election on Thursday, October the 9th. Possibly 2 UKIP MPs after that date. After another by-election on the same day in the Labour rotten borough of Haywood and Middleton, which is somewhere near Manchester. They certainly are booked for second place, UKIP, in that poll, at the very least. Now, if there isn't a swing to the right, I don't know what ain't. UKIP support is a swing to the right, even if it's populist, even if there's loads of working class people voting for it. It is a swing to the right, to the right of the Conservatives and to the right of Labour. Although perhaps with UKIP, you're only seeing what Labour and Conservative will be saying in a couple of years' time. Meanwhile, complete with the right-wing swing, we've got all this other crap, more royal babies, more royal crap in general, sort of unionist, EDL flag-waving, nationalism. We had loyalist mobs on the streets of Glasgow after the referendum. I bet Galloway is really patting himself on the back after that one. Forthcoming disturbances on the street by the right, taking advantage of the ongoing and future grooming sex abuse cases in places like Rotherham. The left, the anarchists, no one else has got anything to say about it. We've left this entirely in the lap of the right. And the list is endless. More poor doors, social segregation, racism, ruling class arrogance, backed up by the full power of the state and the media. We're heading towards a dystopian situation. A combination of those recent movies, The Hunger Games, and In Time, unless we do something about it, and soon. So yes, in the forthcoming 2015 election, to which I will be devoting a good deal of time in covering it from an anarchist perspective, we, the population, should also turn our anger and rage against the Labour Party and its cronies. After all the fuss they were making about intimidation from the Scottish nationalists during the referendum, a few catcalls and one egg thrown, let's really give them some grief and some shit. Show them that, like the Conservatives, they ain't part of the body politic. So on that rather aggressive note, I will say goodbye to you and see you in about a week.